My life has changed so much in so many ways from using kettlebells in just the last year, and I'm confident that they can also do the same for you. So, in this video, I want to talk about 7 incredible transformations for both your physical health and your mental health that kettlebells can do for you. So, transformation number 1, kettlebells definitely can heal your body. Now, obviously, big medical disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, so this is more anecdotal from both my experience and talking to many in the kettlebell community. But kettlebells can definitely heal the body in the sense that they fix posture, they fix shoulder pain, they fix lower back pain, they can fix even gait, like the way your feet walk, so your walking ability, your hip alignment. And this is just because of the full body functional nature of kettlebells. The exercises are not focused on just targeting a specific body part or just a very specific one note goal, but really about holistic health. And so what that looks like in terms of specificity are exercises like kettlebell carries, where to literally do the exercise you need to have good posture. You can't perform the exercise. It actually teaches your body on how to have good posture, not in just a sitting up straight type of way, but literally strengthening the parts of the body, the lower back, the glute medius, the rear delts. These are exercises, these are muscles that a lot of times are in the back of your body that strengthen you, put you up straight. And that gets your shoulders in alignment. That gets your lower back strong. That gets your hips aligned. And so I've found that my body just feels so much better after using kettlebells. It just feels like some of the benefits I've even seen from yoga, I feel like I get that from kettlebells, which is really incredible. And then, not just the really functional movements like carries, but even some of the more, muscle focus or strength focus exercises like a clean and press, like a kettlebell squat, because these movements are all standing up straight. To do these while I'm doing different movements like squatting, cleaning, pressing, I still have to have good posture, and it strengthens, a lot of muscles in the body directly, but then indirectly, I'm still having great posture throughout. And then a lot of times, the last thing I'll say about the healing of the body, there's some people who prefer to do 2 kettlebells at a time, some who prefer to do 1. And I don't want to speak too much about like the pros and cons of both, but one thing I'll say about as someone who prefers single kettlebell is that I'm always kind of working on those muscle imbalances, because I'm doing the same amount I'm doing as my left side and my right side. And I've noticed that also for my left to right balance, that's gotten a lot better, that the muscle and strength are more aligned left to right. And then, the muscle in the back of the body is proportional to the muscle in the front of the body. So it really just heals the body in really incredible ways. So that's the first transformation. The second transformation is that kettlebells got me, and I think can get you, in the best shape of your life. And I know that's a big claim, but in the last year of using kettlebells, I put on around 25 pounds of muscle. I feel way better. Obviously you get a little more happy when you look in the mirror, but I also feel a lot better in just like everyday life. I feel more functional in day-to-day life. I feel good knowing that, the muscle I have, like, that contributes to prevention against all-cause mortality. So a lot of benefits. And, people think that you need to be training very much like a bodybuilder to build muscle. And if you're literally a professional bodybuilder, yeah, I don't recommend kettlebells. But I'm going to make a crazy assumption that you're not a bodybuilder, or 99.99% of people watching this channel are not bodybuilders, and you're just a regular person who wants to get fit while, living the rest of your life, enjoying time with your family, working on your career, enjoying your hobbies. And so kettlebells got me in really good shape in that, again, all those full body movements, it's a mix of the full body movements, and then the fact that you're always using a moderately heavy weight, not the heaviest, but not the lightest either. And you're just doing a crazy amount of volume, like I'll do clean and press workouts where I think there have been times where I've gotten, anywhere from like 50 to 75 clean and press reps total. So maybe 25 to 35 on each side. And that's not, obviously there's ways to program that, so you don't want to just take the lightest weight and do that much. These are 25 to 35 reps on each side, where every rep was, moderately challenging. But, because the nature of it is that you're not taking as long rest, every movement, you're hitting so many muscles. You get a lot of volume. And then the full body nature of it is that when you do a clean and press, you're hitting almost pretty much every muscle in the body. When you're doing kettlebell squat, you're training your full body. Yes, it's a squat, but just the holding of the kettlebell is going to train your back and your arms and shoulders, for example. When you do kettlebell carries, those hit every muscle in the body. When you do a kettlebell deadlift, those hit a lot of muscle in the body. Even sometimes I notice with the kettlebell curl, which is one of the few isolation kettlebell movements I like to do, I notice both my forearms and biceps getting worked. I even notice my upper back and my shoulders a little bit of my upper chest. And so, I don't usually like to like Frankenstein the body, so to speak, and like pick it all apart. But just for this point, I will say that kettlebells can build a lot of muscle because of the full body nature of kettlebells and the volume that you'll do in your kettlebell work. And so the myth that kettlebells don't build muscle, totally wrong. They can. So that's the second transformation. The third transformation is that kettlebells build really great functional strength, and you will become, the strong person in your family that people need to help with all the daily tasks and the moves and things like that. And so, yeah, I feel like since using kettlebells, I've become that go-to guy in my family. When there's events or things to move, they're asking me to like pick things up, move them around, things like that. It's kind of funny how that's happened, and it feels good to know that I can like help in that way. But yeah, when I was doing more strictly bodybuilding training, and this is just for me, I didn't really find that strength carryover a lot of times to my day-to-day. But when I'm doing kettlebell training, I can literally see the movements. If I'm doing kettlebell carry, I mean, it's obvious how much it translates to day-to-day life, like picking up groceries, helping people move. If I'm doing a clean and press, picking things up and putting them up. If I'm doing a kettlebell squat, having to put stuff in like lower racks away while holding something heavy. And then, like all the rotation you do in kettlebell training, all the different things. Sometimes if I'm experimenting with, different moves like a kettlebell half kneeling press where I'm kneeling and doing a kettlebell press, I'm working upper body strength while working on lower body stability, things like that. So I just find that as I'm one of my goals as I keep going my kettlebell training is to over time use bigger kettlebells, and then because I'm using those bigger kettlebells, heavier kettlebells, and I'm doing that in movements that I can directly see transform over to day-to-day life, your kettlebell deadlifts, kettlebell squats, clean and press, carries, because I see that I am literally seeing myself getting stronger in everyday life, and it just feels great. I just noticed that, before I would feel a little anxious before having to, help someone move, or even, we got a lot of groceries, or it's a heavy backpack, or putting stuff up. You just feel a little anxious of like, will I tweak something? Am I strong enough for this? Now, for the most part, I don't feel that anxiety. I feel confident. Like, yep, I got the suitcase. I put it up on the airplane. I can, play with my nephew, pick him up and put him down a bunch of times without worrying about like throwing my back out and things like that. So I just feel a lot of confidence in my strength, and that just feels good. That really feels, you feel empowered for life. And so, that's a third transformation. And then the fourth transformation from kettlebells is that I feel much more athletic from specifically an endurance standpoint. So this part's fun to talk about because the whole gym bro idea is that you don't do cardio, you get really bulky and then you can't really walk up a flight of stairs, and obviously these jokes can get to an extreme. But if I'm being honest, as someone who used to do more bodybuilding training, like there is some truth to it. Like I have had times where I felt like I looked good in the mirror, or like I had a strong bench press, and I had a hard time like kind of going up the stairs, or not going up the stairs, that's a little extreme. I could go up the stairs, but like I feel like if I actually went on like a hike, like a 3-4 mile hike, which isn't crazy, I feel like I would have a hard time. And I'm like, I'm in the gym 4 times a week. This is kind of odd. And again, I don't want to speak for all bodybuilders. This is maybe the training I was doing that was more, probably wasn't the best type of training. But my general point is that, even if you're doing that type of bodybuilding training, a lot of times your cardio is a separate component. But what I love about kettlebells is that cardio ends up becoming part of your kettlebell training, because of, and I keep saying like the full body nature, and then the amount of volume, you are getting your heart rate up. And those are just like at a baseline. I think kettlebell training has like a higher cardio baseline than other forms of lifting a lot of times. But I will also say with kettlebells, there are a couple things that there are a couple, unique types of like workouts and integrations into your workouts that build more cardio. And so one is that like you can kind of do some pretty fun things with the volume in kettlebell training. So one of the most obvious things is the kettlebell carry. So for me, if I'm trying to get some cardio, I do longer carries. So one thing I've been doing for the last couple of months is I start I do quite a lot of steps with every workout. I'll walk, I've done a kettlebell mile where I walk like 2,000 steps with the kettlebell. I've done a kettlebell half mile where I walk like 1,000 steps with the kettlebell. Sometimes even like 500 steps to just like start the workout. But my point is like when you're walking a half mile or a mile with a kettlebell, then, my heart rate gets higher than I do in some, in some runs. And so, yeah, the kettlebell training can have very explicit cardio improvements. And then the second way to do that, outside of like long kettlebell carries, which I think is exciting, is also kettlebell complexes where you string multiple exercises together. So one of my favorites is a kettlebell clean, press, and squat, where you do a kettlebell clean, a press, and then a squat, and then you do that anywhere from 3 to 5 times, switch sides, and then do it on the right side. My heart rate's through the roof. And like I've had workouts where I didn't expect for it to be so cardio intensive, and then near the end I was like, oh, I got to slow down, or I'm gonna like throw up or something, which I don't recommend. I don't recommend pushing yourself that hard. But my point is like I've had some insanely good cardio benefits from kettlebells, and then I see it. Like I haven't done any traditional cardio in like the last year, but it's fall season right now. I've been going on these 4 to like 6 mile vigorous hikes quite a few weekends this season, and I feel totally fine. I'm holding a 15-pound backpack the whole time, and I'm not I can tell that I'm exercising obviously, but I feel pretty good. I feel pretty fit for those hikes, and I feel like by the end I'm like, oh, I actually probably still have another couple miles in me, which is pretty awesome considering I haven't gone on a run in like a year. I haven't done traditional cardio, but I know I'm getting actual cardio through my kettlebell workout. So that also, with the strength, all the strength components I talked about, when you add that feeling of endurance to the kettlebell, that makes me feel much more athletic as a whole, which, yeah, is an awesome transformation. So now the fifth transformation is that kettlebells gave me a sense of purpose. And yeah, this is now getting more to the mind section of the video. And this one sounds strong. What does that mean? And I think, I think kettlebells can give purpose in 2 major ways. So one is maybe a more obvious way, is that you just get really excited about kettlebell training itself. So kettlebell training is cool in that there's a whole section of kettlebell culture that's called kettlebell sport, where there's actual competitions and, based off like the clean and press and things like that. I actually don't know too much about it, so I don't want to misquote it or misrepresent it. But my point is the fact that kettlebell training, because of the dynamic nature of the exercises, there's, enough excitement around it and enough skill around it for it to actually become a sport in of itself. So even if you don't compete in kettlebell sport, my point is that you can actually get really passionate about the kettlebell move. So I think that's really cool in that, I don't just think like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym and like work out my shoulders. I'm like, oh, I'm going to work on my kettlebell press. Or I'm going to work on my kettlebell carry. It becomes like a skill and activity that I want to get better at. And I generally have now discovered a passion for kettlebell training. Like in of itself, I just enjoy it. I've mentioned this in other videos, but I like to do, if I have access, I like to do kettlebell workouts even during the holidays and on vacations. And it's not because I'm trying to have this toxic mindset of like no days off, like go hard. It's actually because like I enjoy it. It's like if someone wants to bring board games on a vacation or bring video games on a vacation, it's because that's how they decompress. They enjoy it. That's how I decompress. I enjoy it. So built a passion through that, and that's so great for the mind to have a passion in life that's just personal to you. And so it can come in many forms. Kettlebells don't have to be your passion, but it can be one avenue for a passion for yourself. And then the second to bring off the second point within that, that brings a sense of purpose. I think passion for something brings a sense of purpose where you're like, okay, I have this thing that I love to just improve on and get better at. That's purpose in of itself. Purpose is just something to that kind of drives you forward. And so a passion for any activity is a sense of purpose. Then the second sense of purpose is that maybe you don't get so passionate about kettlebells, but what you find is that it gives you the strength and the mental strength to find purpose in other parts of your life. So kettlebell training is not easy to jump into. The movements are more challenging than your typical workouts, and it takes time to just get good at learning how to actually do the movements with good form. I'm still learning how to do movements with good form. I think I have decent form, but I don't even know if it's great yet. And then second, to actually get like strong in the movements. And I've doubled my strength since I've started, but I'm not near breaking any records or anything like that. So, these are lifelong things of getting better at the form and getting stronger. But the point is that as you get better at your kettlebell training, you realize, hey, if I can get better at this thing, I went from never picking up a kettlebell to getting good at it. Then maybe then I can get good at other things. Maybe I can get better at my job, or a skill I've been wanting to pick up, or learning a new language. Maybe I can get better at being a better friend or a partner or a parent, or like all these things, like that sense of self-improvement and that self-efficacy of that thing of like, I can improve myself if I set my mind to it. If you can see that in your kettlebell training, that purpose to then improve in other parts of your life can also grow. So yeah, this really powerful sense of purpose can come. And then a third way, which might be more subtle and you might think is unique, but I think it's actually more within you than you realize, is that you can start to have impact on others. A very obvious way I'm doing that, obviously, is I started a whole kettlebell YouTube channel. I've made it, a major, passion project of myself. And, I've helped people buy their first kettlebells, get started on their workout programs. So obviously that's like a really big way to start making an impact in kettlebell training. But there's smaller ways. Maybe you just get a friend into work who's been struggling with working out. You're like, hey, I actually used to struggle with working out. I started using kettlebells. They're really fun. It helped a little bit. It helped more. And then they start getting into it. You're helping a friend, or you're helping a parent or a grandparent who's getting older and you want them to have strength training benefits. Maybe you join online communities. The kettlebell Reddit community is very thriving. Maybe you just give a little bit of advice in a comment. That's purpose. You're helping others in small ways. And so, yeah, purpose comes in. I think I started this section saying purpose comes in 2 ways, but that's the third way. So purpose can come in 3 ways that impact. So yeah, I think kettlebells have given me a lot of purpose. I think it can give it to you if that's something you're searching for. It might not come overnight, but it can come with time. So that's another incredible transformation and a really great mental transformation. The 6th transformation that kettlebells can do for you is that it can bring you a joy of movement. So this one is one of my favorites on this list, because I came into working out more from an insecurity as a very underweight teenager. And so as a lot of underweight teenage boys, they want to get into the gym and feel more confident. And I got those benefits for sure. But at a certain point, there's something that for myself at least felt a little bit more empty about being obsessed with the mirror. And I use the word obsessed because I think it's natural and nothing wrong with like having some level of aesthetic or vanity goals. I, like anyone else, enjoy the feeling of putting on muscle and how that looks, and the mental benefits that come from that. But I think when I was only focused on that, that was my only goal, I don't think it was the most fun way to approach the gym. I didn't really care too much about the exercises I was doing. And so with kettlebells, because of the dynamic nature, like you're really learning really cool movements, like a kettlebell clean. Like people don't even really know what a kettlebell clean is, or people see a kettlebell carry, or especially weird movements like a kettlebell overhead carry, where you're putting a weight overhead and walking with it, or just even simpler movements like a kettlebell press, but the focus is just to get better at it. You just realize what your body can do, and you have this joy of movement of like, wow, the body can move in all these different ways. It can push, it can pull, it can squat, it can hinge, it can carry, it can rotate, it can resist rotation. It can do all these really amazing things, and you start to build a joy of movement of like, oh, cool, like I'm really gonna work on these movements. And fitness can become a little bit more about the movements and less about the muscles, which I think that balance brings a lot of joy. So as I mentioned, I get really excited to be like, oh, I've gotten a lot better at my clean and press. The weight glides into my arm a little bit smoother, or when I press, I notice my like upper back is in better posture, or like when I do my carries, I notice that I'm wobbling less. I'm getting better at these movements, and it just feels really pure, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like kind of like when you're a kid and you're playing on a playground and you don't care about what's the best part of the playground for your health or for your looks. You're just doing it because you love being on the playground. You know, kids don't question why they like the slide over the monkey bars. They just enjoy doing both, you know? And yeah, I don't know if that analogy went too weird or philosophical, but I think about that. Like, where now the gym to me feels more like a playground. Like, I go in there, I got my couple kettlebells, and I like, okay, today I'm gonna play with the kettlebell carries and the presses. Maybe tomorrow I'm gonna play with the kettlebell clean and the kettlebell squat, you know? And so that joy of movement, it just makes me really happy, and I love to see that in other people, because I sometimes feel like the way we talk about the gym and fitness gets a little too hinged on just here's how to change your body, here's how to change how you look. And I don't think that conversation needs to be like eradicated entirely. Like, I think that that's too much of an extreme on the other end, because I think it's natural to want to quote unquote look better and all of that. But I think losing that joy of movement to me is very sad. And so I think bringing that joy of movement into fitness is a great thing. And I think kettlebells do that, and for me, and I've seen them do that for a lot of people. So that's another great mental transformation. The seventh and final transformation is that kettlebells have made me really grateful for my body, for lack of a better phrase. And I think they can help you feel more grateful too. I mean, if you are lucky enough to be able to walk to a gym or walk to your gym area in your home, pick up any kettlebell weight without pain, and do all these different movements in all these different ways, you're incredibly lucky, and so am I. You know, it's easy to take so many parts of life for granted, and to forget about the basics of everyday life that we have. I do it too. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I need these grateful reminders. But yeah, when I go to the gym and do my kettlebell training, I'm just really grateful. Like, whoa, I can like pick up a 35 pound, 45 pound, or 20 kg, 16 kg weight, walk with it for a mile or half a mile without pain, and I feel good. I can, do a kettlebell clean, which requires me to move a weight fast, and I can do a kettlebell press, which requires me to have like good shoulder mobility and good lower back mobility, and good lower back strength. And I'm doing all of this without pain. I'm really lucky. And then it's just like cool, like what my body can do. Like, whoa, it can do all these movements. It can twist and push and pull and squat and carry things in weird ways. It just makes me feel very grateful for what my body can do. And that gratitude is so important. I mean, it's been studied so much by science that gratitude is one of the keys for like living a better life. That gratitude is something that I really try to work on. And I think, as silly as it sounds, like something as simple as like this cannonball looking thing can make you feel really grateful for the life you have, and specifically the body you have, that you can do these things. But also even grateful for your mind. You can learn new things. I didn't use kettlebells when I was a teenager during that developmental stage, but I learned them really well in my like late 20s. I went from not knowing them at all to be able to teach about them. And so, yeah, my mind is also powerful, and it can learn and it can grow. And so, yeah, you can be grateful. I guess I started saying you can be grateful for your body, but you can be grateful for your mind too. And I think kettlebells have done that for me. And I think if you do that, you'll find, again, maybe not overnight, but over time, you'll find a certain gratitude for parts of your life. And I think that's powerful. Those are my 7 transformations that kettlebells can do for your mind and your body. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if any of these connected with you. Let me know if any of these excited you and made you want to get into the gym or get into your home using kettlebells if you don't go to a gym. And yeah, please share your thoughts on this video and this topic, any of the points. I'd love to hear. If any of these excited you and you want a workout program that helps you achieve all of these, you can check out my 8-week kettlebell program now. We're up to 15 sales in just 10 days, and people seem to be really loving the program. So yeah, if you want to check it out, you can check it out in the description. And then if you want to see another video, you can watch one of these 4 here. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you for the next one. Thank you.